Hey Canucks fans, welcome to the line change. And in this video, we're going to be going over some line combinations to start the season, and in particular, the home and season opener for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I just want to clarify that these are simply my own opinion and my predictions for what the line combinations will be uh, to start the season. In particular, as I mentioned, the home opener. So these are not official. These are just what I am predicting are going to be the starting lines for the Vancouver Canucks. But before we dive into that, as always, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that amazing artwork you see up there and down here. And you guys can check them out yourselves at GassyJackArt.com. You can also find him on Instagram at GassyJackArt. There is a link to his website in the description down below. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the line combinations that I have come up with. I'm going to share the screen here. I went ahead and did it on Puckpedia. So let's go ahead and check that out. So here, as you can see, I have the first line being Evander Kane, Elias Pettersson, and Brock Besser. I decided to have Evander Kane start off on the first line just simply because he is, of course, the Canucks' big acquisition from this offseason. And also, I just think Evander Kane will get a look on the first line. Now, do I think this is going to be a full season or a permanent thing? No, I do think they might do some shuffling around, but I do think for the home opener, they are going to have Evander Kane on a line with Elias Pettersson just to see how they mesh and see what their chemistry is like. Obviously, we'll find out for sure at training camp what the line combinations could potentially look like in about little over a week or so when training camp starts. But for now, I have Evander Kane on the first line on the left side. And of course, I have Brock Besser on the right side. I do think Brock Besser is a lock for that first line right wing position, simply because he is, of course, the longest tenured Canuck. He's also just recently signed a $7.25 million contract for 7 years. And I do think that is, a permanent spot on that first line. Could we see, again, like I said earlier, could we see some shuffling? Absolutely. But I think it's a lock that Brock Besser will be on the right-hand side of the first line with Elias Pettersson. And hopefully we can see some of that chemistry. We were just talking about chemistry between Evander Kane and Elias Pettersson, and hoping that blossoms. We already know that there is chemistry between Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. We've seen it in the past. Hopefully we can see it again. For our second line, I have Jake DeBrusk, Philip Hedl, and Connor Garland. Now, some people might put Jake DeBrusk ahead of Evander Kane on that top line. I do think they are going to, at least, like I mentioned, let Kane have a look on the first line, which obviously drops DeBrusk down to the second line. I do really like the idea of having DeBrusk and Hedl on a line together, because we all know Philip Hedl has that speed, and I think he can also help get Jake DeBrusk the puck. And I just think, that is where Jake DeBrusk slots in, especially if Evander Kane ends up being, on the first line. And then on the right-handed side, I have right wing Connor Garland. Now, obviously, some people might have Connor Garland on the third line. I do think he has earned the right to be on the second line. I think he has proven himself to be a second line right winger, especially after the last few seasons he's had with the Vancouver Canucks. And on top of that, he did just sign an extension with the Canucks. So I think there is going to be a reward for that. And that is, of course, Garland being on the second line. So I do think Connor Garland will be on the second line to start the season. Again, that is just my personal opinion and just my prediction. Again, as I mentioned earlier, obviously these lines are going to shuffle, and some people might move around. For all we know, we could very well see Brock Besser and Connor Garland switch, and they could maybe see how Connor Garland does on the first line. We will see when the season starts, but for now, I have second line of Jake DeBrusk, Filipino, and Connor Garland. Moving down to the third line, we have Niels Höglander, Teddy Blueger, and Kiefer Sherwood. I do think, obviously, Teddy Blueger is a lock for the 3C position. Perhaps, depending on how training camp goes, him and Ratu might switch. As again, it all comes down to how Ratu performs during training camp. If he's lights out, I no question think that Ratu will be the 3C and he will usurp Teddy Blueger, and Blueger will drop down to 4C. Who knows? We shall see. But for now, I have Teddy Blueger as the 3C with Höglander and Sherwood on the wings. Do I think Höglander could bump up? Absolutely. But obviously, last season was not a very good season for Niels Höglander, as he only had 8 goals after scoring 24 the year prior to that. For now, I have Niels Höglander on the third line with Blueger and Sherwood. And that brings us to the fourth line, where I have Drew O'Connor on the left wing, centered by Aatu Ratu. And then, of course, I have Linus Karlsson on the right wing. I do think Linus Karlsson is a lock to make the opening night roster. If not the opening night roster, I do think he's a lock to at least make the roster, as, of course, he really exploded during the Calder Cup playoffs, was absolutely fantastic, and I do feel as though he will be rewarded for that. I also think, as we've mentioned on this channel before, I do feel as though he has the inside track to make the team. So that's why I have Linus Karlsson on the right wing on the fourth line. Let's look down at defense now. So for right now, I have Quinn Hughes obviously on the left side, and then I have Tom Wielander paired with Quinn Hughes. I forget exactly who mentioned this potential pairing, and when they mentioned it, it fascinated me. To pair Wielander with Quinn Hughes, I do think it's an interesting pairing, and so that's why I went with it. Obviously, the chances of Wielander cracking the opening night roster, some could say they're 50-50. But obviously, the Canucks are very high on Tom Wielander and feel as though he is undoubtedly going to crack the roster for the start of the season. Some people have also said maybe he should get some experience in the AHL first. But for this, I have Wielander on a pairing with Quinn Hughes. Next up, we have Marcus Pettersson paired with Filip Hronek. Now, I did notice recently some people did actually say that they think Quinn Hughes and Filip Hronek should, be separated, and they should, be running their own pairings. So I do think the Canucks might take a look at this. So that's why I have Marcus Pettersson and Hronek on a pairing together. I do think that is a good pairing, and it also really tests Filip Hronek and see if he can, get things done without Quinn Hughes as his partner. It'll really help boost Filip Hronek, I feel. So that is why I have him paired with Pettersson. And then speaking of Pettersson, I have DPD paired with Tyler Myers. I think that is going to be correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a long time since last season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe DPD was on a pairing with Myers at one point or another. towards the end of the season last year, and it seemed to really work out. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do really like the idea of having DPD with Tyler Myers, as obviously DPD can soak in that experience from Tyler Myers, who's obviously a leader and has a lot of experience, and he can perhaps shed that towards DPD. So that is why I have DPD and Tyler Myers as the third pairing, and of course the odd man out is Derek Forbort, who I have as the seventh defenseman. So there's that. Obviously, nothing for the goalies. Goalies is not going to change. Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankinen. That is, pretty much a given there. Right now, I have in the press box Archie Baines and P.O. Joseph. Obviously, some people are saying, perhaps Archie Baines could crack the roster, but between him and Carlson, I think, like I mentioned, Carlson has the inside track, but if Archie Baines wants to crack this roster, he's really going to have to shine in training camp. So we'll see if that happens or not. Archie Baines is a RFA, so we shall see about that. Then, of course, this is just the non-roster, or you could technically say this is the Abbotsford Canucks roster. I have Neil Zaman on the left wing, Max Sasson at center, and then I have Vitaly Kravtsov. Then you have Mackenzie McKieran, Ty Mueller, and then Jonathan Lekaramaki. Obviously, Lekaramaki has been a big talking point for a lot of Canucks fans. Some are unsure if he's going to crack the opening night roster, or if it's beneficial for him to start in Abbotsford, kind of get things going, and then call him up at a later time. I do completely agree with that. I do think he needs some more time in Abbey, and I would not be surprised at all if Lekaramaki is called up later in the season. And you got Josh Bloom, Joe Labate, Danila Klemovic, Vilmer Ulrichsen. I do have Braden Coots. Obviously, Coots will most likely or most certainly be playing in Seattle. Could he get some looks in either Abbotsford or on the big roster? Potentially, but that's still a ways away. And obviously, he's going to be spending, as I mentioned, a lot more time in Seattle with the Thunderbirds. Then you have Chase Stillman. Then you have Henry Ravinskis. And then on defense, you have Guillaume Brisebois and Victor Mancini. Obviously, there's going to be a battle between Victor Mancini and Tom Nylander to crack the not the main roster, but the big roster. I do think it would be beneficial if Mancini started in the AHL, just because he can really, hunker down or bunker down on the defense. I think he'd be relied upon a lot if he started in Abbotsford. Then you have Kirill Kudratsev, and then Jimmy Schultz. And, of course, goalies Nikita Tolopilo, Tai Young, Aku Koskinvu, Yuri Patera, and then, of course, Alexei Medvedev. And, of course, you have Jet Wu and Sawyer Minio. So those are the line combinations in particular for the Vancouver Canucks. Not so much Abbotsford, but I'm more focused on the Vancouver Canucks part of it. So yeah, those are the line combinations I have, and those are technically my predictions for the opening night roster. Bar any, again, these are just predictions. These aren't actually official. I'm the one who moved things around and put people where they were. But obviously, we will find out at training camp what the actual line combinations will look like come opening night. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think, and what are your line combinations for the Vancouver Canucks. Do you guys agree with these line combinations? Would you tweak some things? Would you change some things? Would you put Jonathan Lekaramaki on the big roster, or would you keep him in Abbotsford? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And if you prefer the audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, not only greatly appreciated, but it really helps out the podcast as well. But that's going to do it for me in this video. As always, let's go Canucks go. And I'll see you guys in the next video.